Hey everybody, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Super Size Me 2 coming out. Bargain Spurlock, Jonathan Buttram. How are you guys?
We're great. Thank you. Good to
Hey,
see
good to
you.
meet you.
Thank you for having us.
So this was a pretty interesting journey for you guys here.
Yeah.
And for you, I mean, the whole fast food thing, this is a new twist on it and a couple years of your life here. So
Yeah.
how did this whole thing come about?
Well, you know, for years we talked about could we ever make a sequel to Super Size Me? What would that be? There was some time like back in like 2008, 2009 where I was thinking about trying to go in and unionize a McDonald's or unionize a fast food restaurant, which would have been awesome.
That would have been pretty epic.
Yeah, and then it just kind of got punted off by other projects. And so when I got the idea for this of like, you know, what if I opened my own fast food restaurant? What would that be? Then it was just like, the more I talked about it, the more we found people like Jonathan, the more we were like, this is going to be a great story.
So Jonathan, when did you first meet Morgan?
I guess about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What did you think of him when you first met him?
Well, actually, when he come walking up to the chicken house, this guy in overalls and everything, and I thought he was a freeloader coming up to ask for some money or something. And I looked around him looking because they told me Morgan was coming. Then I looked, oh, it's Morgan. So yeah.
And we both had the very similar handsome mustaches.
You
at
had the whole southern
Yeah.
mustache thing.
And now
going.
we both got the
You got the beards
whole beard
going.
grow out.
Yeah.
You cleaned it up.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's right.
We don't even coerce with each other on that.
That's right.
It just happens.
So it's one thing to want to start your own fast food place. It's another thing to start your own chicken farm. So
I know.
How do you take that to the next level? And Jonathan, how do you allow something like that to happen? How does it all go down?
Well, I mean, for us, it came out of a conversation we had with a company called CCD Innovation out of San Francisco, who, as we talked about, like, what's the story you tell with your food? And they were like, nobody's doing like a farm-to-table fast food, fast casual story. They're like, that's a great story for you to be able to tell. And I loved that. And so then we went on a journey to find our chicken farmer. Jonathan is somebody who's been incredibly outspoken and vocal about his disdain and unhappiness with the chicken industry for years. And so I was like, that's my guy. If he already doesn't like it, then that's my guy. And so once we spoke to him, he was on board. It was really exciting.
And speaking out against the chicken industry is not an easy thing, as we've come to find out. And you've really been blackballed by the industry. So how have you dealt with that? And why was it important for you to speak out?
Yeah, it's hard to find a crazy person to speak out against the monopolies. And believe me, I'm one of them. But it's been horrible. I didn't expect my whole family to get blackballed. My son should have been a fourth generation chicken grower, and my daughter. They all put in for chicken houses. Well, they blackballed them, wouldn't let them have them. Son even had $5 million ready to belong to him to put in a very large chicken farm. And so he just couldn't get it, and it makes me mad.
Yeah.
And what they come and they threaten, well, back off or else. Well, I'm the wrong person to threaten, because I go get even harder and go after them even more, because, you know, I want the chickens to be healthy. I want the farmers to quit being mistreated, and so I say I'll change. When Morgan come up, hey, I can get my word out through him. He was just hunting a chicken farmer. He didn't know he was getting an activist.
Yeah, and you mentioned both those things. So the farmers aren't being treated right. The chickens certainly aren't being treated right, and you expose that in the film. So what was most surprising about this whole venture?
Well, for me, the biggest thing that was most surprising is how badly farmers get treated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where you think that these guys who are company men, you know, they're getting treated great. You know, you think of company men, you think of the guys from IBM with their suits and their ties and their glasses, and they're excited to go to work every day.
It's a whole different type of company
Very
man.
different company man when you get into the chicken business, because these are guys who they're indentured servants. Like, these guys are basically trapped inside of these companies with the debt that these companies throw on them, with the fear of never being able to get a contract again. So I was shocked at how kind of manipulated and owned these guys are by the chicken companies.
There's a scene where you get your check and it's $5,000 short of what you thought it was going to be. And then we watch also other farmers who are heartbroken, who are millions of dollars in debt. So what was it like for you to expose that and watch those other guys who you're in the same business with?
Yeah, you know, that check was unreal, because I knew those were some of the best chickens I ever grown in 40 years. And 56 million chickens I've grown. None of those chickens died. They were excellent chickens, and I knew that they put a screw into me then, and it makes me mad. That was $5,000, and we needed it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, somebody's got to stand up, and I'm standing up for the other farmers too.
Yeah, and I think this film really stands up for that too. And there's a lot of BS in this whole fast food world. So whether it's the labeling or the people involved or just the whole game, like, what to you is the most sickening about big chicken or just the fast food industry in general?
Well, for me, I think it's the collusion. It's a very popular word in our politics these days, but it's the collusion between the regulatory agencies and the corporations themselves. it is a revolving door of corruption, of people who work for the big giant corporations who then go to work for regulatory agencies like the USDA, who are then working for them to change the regulations to make it even easier for these companies to get away with more, make more money. And then they go back into those corporations, start making huge sums of money again. So it just becomes this vicious cycle of people who we trust, we think are looking out for us, the government looking out for us, these corporations protecting us, and it's not true. Nothing's further from the truth.
When did you realize the corporations couldn't be trusted in your line of business?
Well, I filed a complaint with GIPSA several years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Explain what GIPSA is.
Yeah.
GIPSA is USDA. And so when they took my complaint in, they tore it up and threw it in the trash. I didn't even find it out until just lately when an investigator come to my house a few months ago and told me my life was in danger for speaking out.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, this is unbelievable.
This is real.
Yeah. It's real.
This is real. This is real. So, I'm going around looking over my shoulder now, but not stopping. I won't keep on. Most people, they subdue by threatening them.
No, you kept going.
And I'm keeping on going for the animal's sake and for the human's sake.
You have a person from Tyson in there who is blurred out, voice is altered. How did you go about getting that person to speak, even with all those different protections there?
I mean, it took time. Like, we had a couple people who wanted to speak and then pulled out. And then this individual, once he said he was going to be there, we said, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to portray you. Here's how we're going to make sure you can't be seen. Here's how we're going to make sure your voice can't be understood. And we showed him all that footage before we ever put it in the movie, just so he was 100% confident that nobody would ever be able to identify him. And luckily, just a guy with a hat like that is basically, every guy who shows up to your farm to inspect your chicken barns anyway. So it's one of those powerful moments of a movie because you really start to understand how corrupt those companies are.